Welcome all. Today I'd like to talk about a few things. One is some of the changes that I've made to my rigs, as well as a few other issues that are somewhat perhaps gripes about things that affect the Pocket 4K and what I've been hearing and watching on the internet and so on. I'll cover them in a moment, but first off, something about the rigs that I have. For those who have been watching some of my videos, you'll see that I've now modified the lens hood that I had on here originally on my larger rig with the 40 to 150 lens, and put a tilde mini matte box on there. That one came off the 12 to 100 lens that I'd spoken about before, where I had issues about vignetting with the 12mm. I'd fixed those issues, but I wasn't really happy with the setup, so I've removed the matte box from that 12 to 100mm lens and put it onto the longer zoom. The other thing that I've done is I've been modifying my small run and gun rig, and you'll note that I've got a tilde mini matte box on that as well. Are you right? I bought that because I wanted to have a matte box on there rather than a cranky lens hood, but thinking that the 14mm to 35 that I now use on here as a permanent setup would be okay and wouldn't have vignetting. Unfortunately it does, or it did, until I went back into my shed and did some serious modifications to the adapter ring that come with the mini matte box, and basically ground down the adapter ring until it met the inner thread of the ring itself, and leaving about 4 or 5mm of body mounting in there so that the matte box could actually screw on. It works. The vignetting has gone away now, and I can actually use a variable ND filter in the adapter ring itself. It's a bit of a poor design on Tilta's part. I don't know why they didn't just do more testing with wider angle lenses and so on, and made the matte box the way it is, and especially the problem lies with the adapter ring, not so much the matte box, that causes these issues. So I thought I'd raise that in case you're thinking about getting it. And be aware that if you do, you're likely to encounter some problems with wide angle lenses, and you may have to do some serious modifications which may or may not work. The other thing that I've done with the rig is I've changed the way I mount my microphone here. Previously I used the cold shoe, which was attached to the small rig cage, and it meant that the microphone sort of sat out about that far from the camera, which was a potential hazard as far as catching on things and whatever else, and when you're moving about. So I modified some bits and pieces left over from my other endeavours, and attached a 15mm rod holder onto the side of the small rig cage with a cut down rod, and that now allows me to put the microphone up like that, which reduces its profile out the side considerably. Cables are all nicely packed away, so there's no way that it'll get caught anywhere. And it works quite well there. You'll also notice that I now have a handle here. That's attached with a little NATO rail, so it comes on and off quickly. But the reason I got that was that it's easy to carry the thing around, very much like with this rig. I can just pick it up and just move it around much easier. But it also allows me a different perspective for holding the camera. I can hold it like that down low, or any old way. When I hold it up close to my chest, I can actually use the handle to press in and give me a sort of a third point of contact there, which is quite good. So it's just something that makes it a bit more versatile. The other thing that I did was, you've seen my previous video about my suggestion for a 2-axis gimbal. I've used again more bits and pieces from an earlier setup with a Fotka follow focus wheel, so that I can actually put the camera now onto that with a Arca Swiss clamp, and that allows me to now hold the camera like that, and it's quite stable. Again, I can bring it against my chest using the handle, and it works quite well, and I can actually now use the follow focus on the side there to adjust the focus of the lens. I also have a little handle like that will screw on to the end of the handle if I want to, and that means that I can actually put the handle on my shoulder and gives me some support. Not quite as good as some of the shoulder mounts, but it actually works reasonably well, and I can see the the monitor quite clearly for focus, and I'll talk about that monitor a little bit later. So that sort of a little setup works reasonably well as far as the versatility goes, and it just makes use of bits and pieces of gear that I've got lying around. So I'm one of those sort of people who doesn't want to put anything to waste, never throw anything away, it always comes in handy. So that's some changes there. One of the big changes that I've got here is the new monitor I've got here. I finally got rid of the Shinobi. I've still got it, I'm not throwing it away, but it's only going to be used for various things like this vlogging post at the moment on my Olympus camera. I went for the Blackmagic 12G HDR 5-inch for various reasons. One, it's a local product, I like supporting local. I did look at the Portkeys BM5, which is reportedly a fairly good monitor, but problem is availability. I could only get order them from China, and at the end of the day, when you looked at the price, support and everything else, the video assist wasn't that much more expensive. Plus, with the video assist, I get recording capability as well, which is a bit of a bonus. Not necessary, but it's a bonus that I can use. But the big thing about the video assist is it's light years ahead of the Shinobi in so many ways. Small thing, like starting and stopping, the VA just goes on and off in 3 seconds or so. Well, 2 to 3 seconds maybe. And whereas the Shinobi, you'd be sitting there for about 11 to 20 seconds waiting for it to come on, and then same thing about 11 seconds or so just to turn it off, and that was a real pain. I mean, I hated that. But more importantly is the quality. The video assist has just such better quality. I only use it at 1250 nits, which is half power, and the screen color, sharpness, brightness is just streets ahead of the Shinobi. I still don't understand how the Shinobi can be called a 1000 nit monitor when it appears to be performing so poorly compared to other monitors of equal brightness, and that includes my Fieldworld ultra bright monitor when I run that at half power, or the video assist. So I'm very, very happy with this. And another absolute surprise with the video assist is how well the focus peaking works. I'm gobsmacked by that, to be quite honest. It's so easy to focus. The red color that I've got there for focus peaking is so clear, and when you're adjusting your focus, you can actually see the thing moving beautifully backwards and forwards in the area of focus, and you can pretty much almost pick up the hyperfocal distance, that is the distance of the subjects that are in focus in front of the focal point and behind it, and actually sort of see what sort of depth of field you're getting in focus, which there was just nothing like that as far as the Shinobi is concerned. In fact, I found the Shinobi very, very awkward for focusing and imprecise. This is just absolutely perfect. It's even better than the Fieldworld monitor, to be quite honest, and that's a 7-inch one. So this is such a delight to use, and I'm so glad that I got it, despite a lot of, or not a lot, but some gripes on the on YouTube. Some people complained about its color rendition, saying it was very poor. I have no problems with it. To me, it's very realistic, it's lifelike, regardless of what lighting conditions you're in, and in most cases I'm not that fussed with having absolutely accurate colors. Most people tend to modify their colors in post and make it all teal and orange anyway, so realistic colors are meaningless. And I think probably the only area where you might want to have realistic colors if you're using LUTs and someone's looking over your shoulder to see what the final product's going to look like, then maybe that's the case. But regardless of that, while I use film mode in the camera, I'm actually putting a LUT back into the monitor so you can actually see what it's coming out like, and to me it's quite realistic, or what you see in real life as far as my eyeballs are concerned. So I don't have a problem with that. The other thing is battery life. A lot of people complain about the horrible battery life on that. I don't think it's that bad, to be honest. Running it at 1250 nits. I did some tests. I ran it with the Jinboshi batteries, and I just put one battery into the video assist and just let it run with the camera on, just pointing at something, no recording or anything like that. And I got 56 minutes on the 550 battery. I didn't think that was too bad. The Shinobi, at the end of that time, because I had them looped through HDMI, I had about 55% left on the same battery, which kind of indicates that I'm not too sure if the Shinobi really is 1000 nit. It wasn't drawing a lot of power. I was expecting that if it was 1000 nit monitor, it would have had somewhat less battery life left in it. But the issue of batteries in itself raised another amusing story. I went to buy some more 550 batteries so that I'd have spares for the monitor on either side, and the link that I provided in one of my previous videos for the Jimboshi batteries, the dealer tried to do the dirty on me, and instead of sending me Jimboshi brand, sent some crappy other brands which I'm now contesting, and they've gone back to him for a refund. But in the interim, I started looking for other batteries, and from Google suddenly Amazon came up with DSTE batteries. There you go, stretchy boy. And so I ordered 4 DSTE batteries from there, because I've heard DSTE batteries are pretty good. And they actually were only $1 each more expensive than Jimboshi. So when they arrived, I did some testing with them, and they in fact proved to be very, very good batteries. I set them up so that I had one of the DSTE 550s on the camera and one in the video assist, and I set them actually to both to record. And the interesting thing was that recording on the video assist, the battery lasted 56 minutes, and recording on the camera, it lasted for 60 minutes. So it actually was 10 minutes longer recording on the camera than the Jimboshi did, and it was about the same time as the Jimboshi, but the Jimboshi wasn't actually recording when I did the tests. So the DSTs are actually very good batteries. Hopefully they last, and I see no reason why not. So that was something surprised me, so that with the DST batteries that I've got now and the couple of Jimboshis and the 970 batteries to suit the camera, I can pretty much go all day without any drama whatsoever as far as recording goes. And that means recording onto the video assist as a backup as well. Now, talking about batteries, one of the things that has been annoying me tremendously, because when the Pocket 4K came out, one of the big complaints that everybody was going on about was the battery life, saying it's woeful, terrible. And even up to today, I'm seeing people on YouTube and elsewhere complaining about the battery life, saying it's absolutely awful, horrendous and whatever. The real point is that the battery that goes inside the camera, the Canon LPE6 or 6N, which is what I use, is a 14 watt hour battery. It's not a powerful battery, so you can't expect the same sort of duration out of it that you do out of a larger battery like, say, a Sony 970. It's fair enough to say that the battery life isn't sufficient for what you might require, but it's not correct really to say that the battery life is horrendous. It's actually quite good for the size of the battery, or the capacity of the battery. 50 minutes of recording that I can get from one Canon battery is not that bad when you actually start comparing it to other cameras. If they're shooting 4K video, you're not going to get many at all, if any, that could say shoot 2 hours of 4K DCI video on one of their internal batteries. And the beauty about the Blackmagic Pocket 4K is that you can add batteries externally to it in numerous different ways. I've got the little mount here that works absolutely superbly, despite a few people on the internet saying that these things are crap, they don't work, they're no good, they shouldn't use them on the Pocket 4K. As far as I'm concerned, they're perfect. They work really, really well. You can put that sort of battery on it. You can attach a V-lock battery like I've got on the other unit. You can put little power banks, multiple ways of powering the camera that might suit your needs. There are very few hybrid cameras that allow you to attach external batteries. The best thing that most of them do will be a dummy battery underneath the camera or inside the camera. And to me, that's the last resort type of option that you'd want to use, because they're clunky, they've got cables that drag out of there. They're not very good solutions in my view. So this sort of solution is just so much better. Now, the interesting thing, and I'm just raising this next point as a sort of an example of where one issue is beaten up into such a fluster that you just wonder why, and that's the battery power issue with the Pocket 4K. Now, Canon recently introduced the R5 and R6 camera, which by their own account has some really significant overheating issues. at 23 degrees ambient temperatures, which is basically something like an English summer. The thing will overheat after about 20 minutes of recording, and that's basically at any flavour. So after that, you've got to sit around for 10 minutes or whatever and let it cool down, and you might be able to shoot for another 10 or whatever minutes and do the same thing over and over again. What happens in something like an Australian summer where it's 40 odd degrees, who knows? This camera has sat in 43.7 degrees temperatures when it's been that in the shade, recording continuously for half an hour without any issues. And the reason I raise the Canon issue is that when it overheats, you can't do anything about it. It stops. This, if the battery runs out, you swap the battery and keep going. It's an easy and inexpensive solution. There's nothing you can do about the Canon overheating. Yet the funny thing is that hordes of people are coming to the defense of the camera and saying that the overheating is not an issue, you know, all these sort of things, whatever comes out. But that's not an issue for them and for the camera, yet a lot of people are complaining about the battery life on the Pocket 4K, and I just find that bizarre. It's just, why make an issue of that on this camera when something like that, which is really significant, everybody's making excuses for. So that's just a funny observation that I've made. Now, at the end of the day, this is a fantastic camera. I'm really happy with it. It's so versatile, it's so adaptable, and the quality is just simply outstanding. As I've said in the past, what you can produce with this is really up to yourself. It's got nothing to do with the camera. If you can't produce anything decent with it, it's not the camera's fault, it's your fault. So it is one beautiful camera as far as I'm concerned. So it's just one of those issues that sometimes bugs me, and that's why I wanted to put up partly this video gripe about people's complaints about a product that is basically really, really good. And I just don't see why, after nearly 2 years, people are still making complaints about the same thing when there are so many solutions around that make it a non-issue. So really, that's basically all I want to say about my rigs today and my little gripe. Hope to see you again, and I'll just say cheers.